Rory Connel.
At Seiler.
Welcome to the Our Day Off podcast PRI edition.
Excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you on. We've been, I guess, in a lack of better words, working together for like 2 years now.
2 years.
You know, back and forth. You helped me and my buddy Chase get the drift truck into some pretty sweet events out in California.
Yep.
And thank you very much for that. It was an absolute blast.
Thank you for coming once again, 2 years later.
Yeah. We wanted to come this year. I know you reached out and invited us, and it was just didn't work out at the time. We had so much other stuff going on, kind of in term of that. So
yep, it's a long drive from Indiana to California.
It is a long drive from Indiana to California, and I think last year I did it 3 times. I think last year I was out and back 3 times for different events. You know,
it's a long drive.
It's a long drive. It's a long drive, but you know what? I'm happy to do it. It was a lot of fun. Thank you very much for that. Maybe in the future we can do it again for sure. Still got the truck, so it's ready to rip.
Just don't roll it off a cliff.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was close. That was a definite pucker moment for sure. That would have been the end of that body, you know, because it's fiberglass. So if that would have rolled off that cliff, it would have just splintered it into a million pieces. So
absolutely,
it would have been ugly. But I'm excited to talk to you because I know King of Hammers is coming quick. That's like this. Yeah, everybody here at PRI is talking about hammers. Obviously, that's like the next big thing coming up for everybody in the hammer in Ultra 4 world. So, you're the guy to talk to kind of give us some of the inside track, or maybe just some more information to what's happening not pertaining to racing. So,
correct.
Like,
yeah.
What do you think? What's going on this year?
A lot of stuff. You know, I tell everyone that asks me, "What do you do?" You know, I was like, I get to help throw a big party in the desert. You know, but it's not a party; it's a race. The biggest thing, you know, that we have going on is as this thing's grown from an off-road Jeep club essentially into this worldwide phenomenon that encompasses all forms of 4-wheel off-road, you know, except for quads. You know, it's evolved, right? And now we're just getting to the point of just really fine-tuning the racing side of it. And that's still evolving, as we all know, right? And I don't know the details and the particulars, and I try to stay away from it, but that's getting better, right? To a place where we know what it is, right? Now, turn around and someone like me that comes from the industry side that's just really a fan and a vendor, we're focused on, you know, the spectator engagement and the manufacturer engagement. So trying to elevate, you know, what you get for the price of admission. You know,
right.
When you buy a ticket to King of the Hammers, making sure that it's worth the value. And when you buy a booth, it's worth the value and you're getting that investment back, you know, for your dollars. So that's my job. So what's coming up for King of the Hammers? It's exciting. You know, we've been pushing the app quietly the last few years. But I would really encourage you to use and download the King of the Hammers app. You are out in the middle of the desert. We do have Wi-Fi at our major spectator areas, Chocolate Thunder, Backdoor, the main stage of the 40. We have free Wi-Fi there, so you can log in to use the app, but you know, a lot of people are using their own satellite communications now, so you have Wi-Fi out there, but you can get notifications for all the different activations happening in booths. You know, Can-Am is doing their Dust Devil, you know, grab for cash. You know, you go in the Wind Tornado thing, and you can see what times that's happening. You can schedule or see the schedule of ride and drive demos. You know, we have more OEMs that you can drive a car on the lake bed, you know, a brand new car. You can test drive more off-road vehicles in the actual off-road environment, not like a metal ramp in a convention center.
Right.
You know, we have more opportunities to do that than anywhere else in North America in one event, right? We have 5 OEMs, whether it's a side-by-side or a fully street-legal vehicle. You can go out and drive those in the desert. So those are experiences that you can find on the app. Every night at the fire pit, most nights we have stuff going on now. You know, people have asked for more stuff going on at the fire pit. So we've got bingo some nights. We've got karaoke. We're going to have a 20th anniversary party that's Yukon Gear and Axle's putting on. So we're going to have all the drivers come out one night. It'll be like a street fair. Meet and greet the drivers. We'll have a DJ out there. Every brand that's participating, you know, they're going to bring out their own special swag for the 20th anniversary. So that should be a fun night. We're going to do an off-road car show, you know, where we're going to pull cars, those cars you see on the lake bed, you know, the lifted Teslas with coilovers. You know,
so
that's
cool.
You know, the stuff you would see some of these influencers drive. We're going to pull them across the lake bed, pull them across the stage, and, you know, let them talk about their vehicle, because people are showing up. We know they're showing up to King of the Hammers, not just to see the race, but to see the oddities of, you know, the off-highway vehicle, you know, the off-highway oddities, you know, that people build that they're proud of. You know, there's a guy that brings his pirate ship that's parked out there that's an RV. You know, we really want to celebrate those people that have helped the event continue to grow as 20th anniversary.
Very cool.
So there's a lot of things that we're doing. So the app, all those things are getting fine-tuned as we get there, but make sure you have the app downloaded before you hit the lake bed. The King of the Hammers 2026
Great.
app. That's the biggest thing I can stress to people if you really want to know what's going on. And then live entertainment, I can't stress this enough to the community as we talk about this Respect the Hammers campaign and the culture of what's happening on the lake bed is, yes, we do have live entertainment. It's no secret that we do put on music for you, the fans of Ultra 4. I can't reiterate, that's for the fans of Ultra 4 and the fans that are at the event. So we will have great bands there, but we're not going to tell you who those bands are until a few hours beforehand because we don't want to attract people out to the desert that shouldn't be there with us in that environment. So this is for the fans. We don't want to invite the rest of the world to come hang out with the Ultra 4 fans. So that's why we do that. So we know that's the number one thing people are looking for, right? Outside of the race schedule is who's playing when and where. We'll tell you where and when, but we're not going to tell you who because we just don't want a bunch of, Backstreet Boys fans showing up thinking that there's a Backstreet Boys concert. I use that as an example because that would obviously never happen.
So secretly, it's Taylor Swift.
Secretly, it's it's T-Money.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait for the Taylor Swift concert at King of the Hammers.
It would probably go over better, and I would be surprised I wouldn't be surprised how many Ultra 4 guys know a lot of those lyrics. So
I have no doubt. I have no doubt.
I've hung out at that fire pit long enough to know that they know some songs.
Yeah. Well, they are popular either way. It doesn't matter who it is. She's popular. So it's hard not to know them sometimes. I'm
Absolutely.
excited. I'm excited for Hammers this year. We've talked about it a couple times, and I feel like there's a new energy. I feel like there's a different energy coming into Hammers this year. I feel like we're kind of on an uphill slide right now. Like everything's kind of going in the right direction. Do you feel the same?
Absolutely. Like my perspective is a lot different than when you talk to someone like Dave or a lot of these racers, right? I, once again, was a vendor on the lake bed that just wanted to do more. Dave was like, if you get to know Dave and you're like, hey, can we do this? And he likes the idea. He's like, go for it. Don't die. He'll, as long as you ask for permission.
Yeah, he'll support you.
Absolutely. And as long as you're on board and you're supporting it and you're doing the right thing. And, so my perspective is looking at it like seeing a lot of these more corporate things like the vehicles themselves, right? Seeing more and more videos from OEMs of vehicles in Johnson Valley. You're seeing brands launch vehicles out there. They're filming that is very clearly in Johnson Valley. And knowing that comes from here. So seeing that evolve and that uphill swing and seeing that momentum come from the full other side, just seeing the racing evolve is awesome. And me as a spectator or a fan learning more because I work here about it is really exciting for me too.
Yeah.
It's because I get a closer look behind the curtain. But from the brand side, seeing that corporate dollars spent and the attention just to off-road in general.
Yeah.
Right? Just look, we're recording a podcast at PRI in Indy. And PRI came to us and said, hey, we want to do a full feature on Ultra 4 in the main hallway right next to registration at the PRI show, and for me growing up in Southern California and being in the industry forever, I came from custom cars originally. PRI was just, roundy round dirt track stuff.
Right.
And coming here and seeing how many, not just Ultra 4 guys there are, but, I ran into some guys who had a Brannick Motorsports jackets on.
Yeah.
At the La Quinta last night, So the La Quinta. I said, oh, you guys ever been to Hammers? They're like, no. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. Really?
And I'm like, and that, just seeing that, like seeing off-road grow and get to this level is, I see that, but I guess I see it from a different perspective.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you've mentioned it a few times that you were like a vendor to begin with and more just a fan. What's that background for you? I know you've talked to me about like your overlanding experience and stuff and how you like to overland, and you've got a couple of vehicles in that aspect. Elaborate a little bit. Tell us about that. Like, give us some of your background.
Moved to Southern California when I was 6 in 1991, and I don't know. I think before that, I rode my cousin's ATC 70, and after that, if it like burned gas and had wheels, I just wanted to be a part of it. It was. We got the bug, it was an RC car or whatever. So Southern California is a really good place for that, but Corona, where I live particularly, is like every major manufacturer for dirt bikes and supercross, motocross bikes, has a test track in Corona. So getting to grow up and being able to ride my bike and watch like McGrath and Pastrana and all these guys like practice right there in my town, like just loved off-roading. So kind of just grew up and rode dirt bikes in the Orange Groves and then got into go-karting. So small, more power sports related stuff. And then as I entered into high school, went to tech school and came out of tech school and was building custom cars for a while. Big wheels and chop tops and stuff like that. Was popular back in the day, more dub show kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Some promotional stuff for some corporate brands. And then somehow or another just kind of fell into off-road. More when I worked for Gibson Exhaust, and they were like really passionate about power sports and off-road, the Gibson family, and they kind of pushed me towards off-road. And when I went to where I'm at now, the company that I eventually acquired, I had been coming to King of the Hammers as a spectator a couple of years, and when I became a partner in a company after I left Gibson, I said, we're going to King of the Hammers and we're going to play. That's where we're going to push this product out to the world. Because for me, you can't reach more consumers anywhere else as a brand, right? There's tens of thousands of people there's a lot of downtime in between races. If you're there for a week and you have a very captive audience,
right?
You may not see them all in a day, but over that time, you're going to see them all, right? So it's a different show, but I very quickly realized that it's a good place. And after doing it a couple years, I don't know how I met Dave, but I was like, hey, kind of getting this overland thing. This is like 2016, 2017. And I was like, I really want to set up an overland camp that's kind of a way, and there's this lake bed that my son and I camp on, a false lake bed that's on the way to Remote Pit too. We camp out during the year because it had a little quad track on it. So I take my son there and we camp on all the off weekends because Johnson Valley is still my backyard. That's my local OHV spot.
Gotcha.
And he's like, sure, you can do that out there. And that's what's the overland area.
Gotcha.
It's like 8-9 years it's been going on now. And then eventually he kind of sucked me into the middle of the nucleus, just fell more and more in love with the sport and the characters in it. And, here we are.
Yeah. So now you're hooked. I mean, now you're in.
Yeah. So doing my day job, still own and operate my own company that does bumpers, more overland focus. We do rooftop tents and some awnings, some of that stuff. And then hammers. And it's fun. I had to give up the overland experience. Some of my buddies are running that for me now and they take care of that and manage it for us. But there's if you're not aware of it, if you go out to headed out towards Remote Pits 2, you'll see like the space tents, the shift pods. That's the overland experience. And there's a bunch of brands out there, but that's just people that don't necessarily want to be in the chaos and they like tent camping, and the best food and drinks are prepared in the overland experience. That's all the bougie food. Cooking's half the battle for them.
Sounds like I'm gonna have to stop by the overland experience tents out there and be like, hey, Rory was telling me there's some good food and drink out here.
It's actually so like if you break in Remote Pit 2, like a lot of guys break in Remote Pit 2 and they'll come back, and a few of them have learned that, because I'm not going to give away all the secrets.
Yeah,
but there is porta potties out there.
Oh no. Caution.
No, but they've learned, there's porta potties. We can stop there on the way,
Gotcha.
And then, like, if they break down, all the overlanders are out there and they're all streaming the race on their, like, Starlinks, and they all have, like, TV setups at the back of the rig.
Swing back.
There's guys out there, sprinters, and they just roll the door open and they've got a, 40-inch TV and they're out there watching the race.
Awesome.
Camping, and they're cooking and drinking, just having a great time.
Yeah.
And these guys will break down and they'll cruise back through and they all get fed. So, like, now there's, like, this group of Australian guys. I think they race 4,400. I don't know who they are, but every year they stop and they eat the same night at the same time to get fed.
Awesome.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Well, they've made it a point. They found the secret.
Yeah. But I don't get to hang out there anymore. So now I'm in Hammertown.
Yeah. Stuck in Hammertown.
Yeah. It's not so bad, though.
Hammertown's not bad. I've been in Hammertown every year since I've gone. And it's a special place to be for sure. A couple of friends have camped outside Hammertown. And I've considered it a few times, but there's something I like about being inside those walls, with the security, and all of us have haulers with full race awnings and a bunch of race cars sitting out. So it's kind of nice to have that security being inside Hammertown. And that's why we do it, and not to mention it's a nice time to be there,
Yeah.
like all your friends are in there.
Yeah,
like the
absolutely. It's a
manufacturers are in
reunion
there.
for a lot of you guys.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, PRI is kind of that way for us too. It gives us a chance to all get together and talk about the year and the season and learn about hammers and what's coming up. So this is kind of like the nice spot. Did you guys go to SEMA this year? Did you guys have a spot in SEMA?
We did not have a display at SEMA.
Didn't
this
have
year.
a
We were
display at
out there.
SEMA. You were out there?
Yeah, out
Gotcha.
there. Yeah.
Gotcha. I also wasn't sure. I haven't been to SEMA in a few years, and I see it obviously online. There's videos posted everywhere, but it's like all the videos I get fed on my algorithm apparently is just nothing but the burnout yard now, and I think that's mainly because thanks to you, I was doing burnouts in the burnout yard at Sand Sports Show and the Off Road Expo. So
Zach Mertens, he came out to Hammers. He was one of the Hoonigan guys.
Yeah.
He was one of the OG guys with Ken Block, and he he's kind of, for me, I think like the kindred spirit, the next person to really carry that torch that was a part of that brand. He was a huge part of that brand when it was, the Ken Block Hoonigan. And we invited him out and we hosted him as media this year. And he's this amazing human being, like one of the nicest guys you've ever met. And he, Hoonigan, as things get bought and sold, things change, and people think they can do things better. You could see that they were really trying to get back to that this year at SEMA, and they brought Zach in to host that Burnyard, and he did a phenomenal job with that, curating that and hosting that, and props to him. Because as someone that's a very keen event promoter, you listen to the announcers, you watch what other activations people are doing. That was he did a phenomenal job in executing that, and that
it was
whatever that rock bouncer that climbed the side of that container. I was like, that was insane.
Yeah, very cool. I saw that. I saw that clip. Yeah, wild stuff. And I know, what is it? Weston Champlin. Weston's doing doing a bunch of stuff. Does that the horsepower rodeo?
Horsepower rodeo. I saw that they did that with. I saw Autumn Schwabel was there. She used to be with Ford Performance, and she's out doing her own thing with Own Boss Supply, I believe, drag racing. But she was doing that with Weston Champlin, and I think Lindsay Blair. I saw all those people were part of that. Wasn't a part of that, but I will say that they did invite Michael Cox and Ryan Comstrom, which are two of our dudes, the Bronco boys, jumped with us out there. So that was cool to see, some of the guys that are hanging out with us in Southern California out there jumping at SEMA.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah. Super cool. I texted you and I said, any way I could get the drift truck into SEMA? And you're like, I see what I can do. And it was more of just like a joke because I wasn't really going anyway. But I would love to do that someday and get into the SEMA Burnyard with the drift truck. But
yeah, that would be amazing.
That'd be awesome. Me and Scotty Lawrence are actually talking about putting something together maybe one day and doing some sort of like a burnout show with some Can-Ams and the drift truck. He's building. Scotty's actually building a Can-Am Defender that has an X3 motor in it.
Rad.
And it is gnarly. So
dude, that's awesome.
I don't know.
To drift with it or what?
Just kind of an exhibition, dude, rig. So
I'm not gonna lie, those events that we do out in the parking lots, that 20 minutes that we are captivating the audience is so much. It's a thrill. It's so much energy. And you guys are out there hanging it out, drifting under cars, jumping. And
like, Chase got the opportunity to drive my 4900 car last year and jump over me as I was drifting underneath him. So
and we're taking these huge heavy machines, like I would get Garrett McCourt out there in his brand new trophy truck last year, just doing the full Haley Welch, just huck to thing from on those metal ramps to flat in the parking lot in Pomona.
Yeah,
or in Orange County.
Asphalt come out when he hits.
It's intense. Like I'm so pumped up when I'm announcing it, but I'm also just like terrified. Like I'm like, how strong is this K-rail? Like,
Well, those big trucks, you're right. I mean, it gets a little nerve wracking. Like side by sides are one thing because they're just super small and nimble, and the drift truck, like the drift cars, they don't leave the ground. We're just kind of sliding around. That's one thing. But when those big trucks, they're hitting that jump, and you can feel it when they land. You can feel that the thud.
Yeah, just hit the ground. Energy, and then like man, just you look at some of those trucks, like they're on like orange King Kong shocks, right? Like Michael Cox's truck, that little Bronco too.
It's crazy,
dude. That thing is just built. He's just a showman. Like
it's literally built for that.
Yeah, just for that. And then they've got this OBS Bronco now too. They're both like just insane trucks. So it's so terrifying at the same time as exhilarating as it is as the person announcing it and, being in control of it. But fortunately, like all the drivers that we have are like top tier pros, right? You guys, all guys do amazing, and we point the ramps away from the crowd and,
let it ride.
Let it ride. And it's a great time.
You've done a great job of vetting the guys that you bring into those shows. Like most of those guys have been either doing shows and driving for a very long time, or are renowned racers, who have been behind a wheel of a race car for a really long time. And you can trust them for the most part,
except for Robbie Gordon.
Well, except for Robbie Gordon, that's the one.
He's always going to be the wild card.
Yeah, the one wild card. But that said, it's always been good. It's always been a really good show. Every once in a while somebody will tap a wall or something, but that's gonna happen, and it makes a good show.
It does.
It makes a great show. I remember
fans love it.
I remember the first year when we came out, and I came to you and I said, hey, I've got my other car here and we can hit the jump. Do you mind if he jumps over me? And you were like, I don't care, but like, can you do it safely? And I was like, I don't know how safe can that be? I don't know. I mean, I guess worst case scenario, he lands on top of me, but I mean, I'm in a fully roll caged race car, so I think it'll be okay.
Yeah, the only thing I think the worst thing that would have happened is he went into that lake, that little pond, But that was pretty far.
That was pretty far away, and it was over like a brick, like a 3-foot brick wall too. I think he would have had to make some real big mistakes to make it that far.
Yeah, how wild is life? Like, we're literally jumping like massive race trucks in the parking lot of the Pomona Fairplex, like right next to these like hundreds of year old, county fairground buildings, and I'm like, I can't believe that's like where my life ended up.
It's interesting to sit and think about it sometimes, isn't it? Me and Chase talk about it all the time, and he made a comment on the way up here when we were talking in the car, and he's like, I've if I look back on my life, my younger self, and I'm like, oh, I'd love to do that. Like, he's like, I watch it on TV and watch it on YouTube, and he's much younger than me, so he's like, I'd love to do that someday, or I'd want to be that guy, And then he's like, I kind of have to pinch myself. He's like, we're in California running drift cars. Like,
I know, it's rad.
It's so insane. And he's like, I've always wanted to go to the King of Hammers just to go and be like a spectator. And then he gets hooked up with me and guys like yourself, and all of a sudden we're in it. We're racing. We're in the media tent. We're doing media this year upcoming. I'm still working with you and Dave on it, but Dave's kind of making us the podcast at King of the Hammers. So
I'm down.
Some things there's some things happening. So it's like really cool to go from just a fan, then just a racer. And I can't say just. I mean, it's a big deal. But now to come all the way full circle and be kind of on the media side and see how it all works is really impressive. I will say that, and hats off to you and your team and all of King of the Hammers team and Ultra 4, because it is a labor of love, dude.
Oh yeah. It's definitely like, it is a massive event and it is a massive scale.
Yeah.
Most people don't realize that, there's only like 10 of us year round, and we all have like loose functions, and we do a few things like, James Masters that does our production, most people don't know this, but, King of the Hammers, Hammer King, Dave funded the production of, Vegas to Reno, the live stream of that, a couple snore races. I think Rage of the River, right now they're running Rage of the River, and, that live stream, and then, a more race too, I believe, so just trying to grow the sport, and it's not just bragging, it's just saying, hey, we have these resources, let's share this with the world. It's growing the sport together.
Great.
So
yeah, I mean, and that's what it's going to take too. I have really high hopes for the sport. It seems like it's, again, not to harp on it, but it's like, it seems like things are going really well. Like, it seems like we're on that uphill trend, and I'm really excited for it. Lots of really cool things happening. Dave was telling us all sorts of things that are going to happen at Hammers this year that I won't disclose. I'll let him do it, but very, very cool. Very, very interesting stuff. And you told us a story offline about last year's lap 3.
Oh.
And how that was a big secret. Last year that was the heel, right? That was what Dave made up last year and came up with to kind of toss things up, kind of make things a little different. And it was well received through the whole community because it really made it cool. But there was some pressure to keep it secret. And there was an almost slip up.
Okay, we'll say it now. We'll tell the story now.
Let's tell it.
Okay, so So this all starts with me standing next to the campfire. And I get a text from Dave Cole. There's a map in the media tent with lap 3 printed on it. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like,
Yeah,
I'm standing next to
in the media tent all day.
I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. So long story short, like we'll back up a little bit. I took over responsibility of, managing the media tent along with the con media team, who's one of our partners, a couple years ago. And there's people that have just been a part of this. We were getting these labor of passion. A lot of people work multiple jobs throughout the year and then come in and help for Hammers. And the person that helps with all the signage and the banners and stuff, he's a part of our team full time. And there's multiple people printing multiple things, and somebody printed a map, right? And it had lap 3, and it was more of a stylized map that didn't have like checkpoints and stuff. Is something to help the media. They printed like a big version so the media can see where the course is and then go out and take pictures.
Sure.
Which makes sense, right? So, we printed one and it had lap 3, and I didn't know anything about it. It's just something that always happens, it just shows up. Everybody just does their job. That's the beauty of this team. Like, everybody just shows up and gets it done. Everybody knows what they need to do.
Right.
And, as I've been here a few more years, I learned what each person does, but that was something I didn't know. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And so, like, I go running, and I'm like at the fire pit. Shit. So I go running into the media tent, and Chris Bowler, the mayor of Hammertown, he's this British guy that helps us.
Yeah,
he's in there too. And we're both like, where is it? And it's just somebody printed it, and somebody delivered it to the media tent. And one of the guys was like, oh, we'll just put this on the table.
Yeah, just display it.
And nobody's thinking, oh, lap 3 is a secret, because we're not racers. We're just
right.
But we should know better. We should know better, right? We should definitely know better. But nobody noticed it. It was out for like 6 to 12 hours. I don't even know how long it was out, but the lap 3 was out. It didn't have checkpoints, and like a lot of those trails, no one even driven, from my understanding.
Yeah.
Right. So it would have been rough to get it done, but it definitely could have had some. I don't know if it could have had clues or not, but it was definitely like one of those things. Like, oh man, it's out. It's on the interwebs. We're done.
Taking a picture.
But it was like, fortunately, somebody who's been in media, and forgive me, I don't remember his name, like called Dave and was like, hey Dave, are you sure this is should be out? And Dave calls me like, what's going on? And I'm like, oh. So I definitely looked like an idiot, because ultimately it is my responsibility. So yeah, that was my lap 3 fun time last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think the saving grace there is it was in the media tent, and not a lot of racers go in the media tent.
Oh yeah, they do.
Well,
they do.
I'm sure there are a handful of ones that just come in there, throughout the time, but it's not like they were coming in there looking for lap 3. I mean, maybe someone walked up and was like, oh, no way, this has lap 3 on it,
Yeah.
But
yeah, no one was looking.
I feel like that it wasn't like it was displayed up in a really popular place where the racers are just constantly there, so totally.
To all the racers that come to the media tent, I promise you there will not be a map on the wall.
I'll be looking. I'll be looking.
But you can return your transponders in the box outside the door.
Yes. Yeah. Please return your transponders to the media tent.
Yes, that's
yeah.
They all come in there for that.
Any last things you want to touch on? Anything we're missing, or just we're having a good year going into Hammers?
Yeah, we're excited about it. The theme going into 20 is respect the Hammers. It's so if you're a driver or a fan or a fan, just we've really got to not change the culture, but manage our culture. We've got to self-manage as this thing grows and be good stewards to not only the land, but one another, and really we have, our primary demographics, the bulk of the people that come are 35 to 54-year-old males, right? And just behind that is that 18 to 35-year-old demographic. And it's pretty easy to see what you see and who it is, right? And so, our request is, I'm 40 years old now. How old are you?
I'm 39. Yeah, we're right there.
We're not kids anymore, and we should probably be doing a better job,
right?
Kind of teaching these kids to
promoting the safety,
act responsibly.
I know. I feel like if you're watching these podcasts back to back to back, or anything like that, which is great if you're doing that. We're not harping on it, but it's worth being said almost every time. Please pick up your trash. Please be respectful of the land. This is
wear
this
a
is
helmet.
Wear a helmet. Wear your seatbelts, please, please, please.
You don't need to get there in a hurry. if you're not in the race, it's not a race.
Right.
Dust means danger. Like slow down.
Yeah.
If you don't need to. I get it. You're out there having fun and you want to have a good time. And if you want to go do that hardcore wheel and stuff, like there's Johnson Valley's open almost.
It's public.
Yeah, we're closed down a couple weeks a year for military training, and that's part of our shared use link. But it's open all the time, and I know it's farther away for some people. So add a day onto your trip. Stay a day after. Wait till the crowd's gone. If you're gonna, you really want to do those things. Just be responsible. Not only are you putting your lives at risk every time you get in an off-road vehicle, you're putting other people around.
Yeah, please.
And there's a lot of people out there. So heightened awareness of your space and who's around you, please.
Yeah, and another important message that was brought up specifically by the US OHV guys, the fireworks.
Oh yeah,
the fireworks thing is kind of
fireworks. Fireworks are illegal on.
Yes, they are illegal. We understand that happens, but there's been a lot of people that have lost extremities, and it's a very sad thing to see, and we don't want anybody getting hurt. So with the fireworks, if you're thinking about bringing them, you think it's fun, don't bring them, please.
And I think one of the things people don't understand is, they think the government wants to come and shut us down, right? And it's not even that. It's the cost of operations goes up significantly when we have more incidents. Right. So the more times medical or police have to respond, well, the next year they're going to come and say, we need to have this much more staff. And we, as an organization, we do get some relief from the county, and they do see economic benefit to us. Right. But in general, the costs for service, just like in your hometown, we're building a city. They charge us for that. Right.
Right.
You pay taxes. Well, we get taxed too as an organization. And it's not that the government wants to shut us down. It's that they're saying, hey, if the crowd acts like this, we're going to meet you with a measured response and service. And in order to operate, this is what we're going to tell you, and this is what it's going to cost you. And we're going to put ourselves out of business because the cost of service will be more than we can generate from ourselves. Because people, it costs $100, $150 to get in, but that's for 2 weeks. And for a lot of people, they think that's a lot, but that's the reality, So that's something I cannot reiterate. Like, I hope that can change someone's perspective. Like, it's just the cost for service goes up when we act that way, and more people is more porta potties,
right?
More ambulances, more sheriffs, more security, So that's where we really have to measure it,
right?
And be responsible.
Yeah.
Every time medical responds, every time the police respond, every time our security responds, it's going to cost money. It may not cost money today, but it will tomorrow.
Right. Well, thank you very much, sir. Absolutely well said. I appreciate everything you do.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
And keep up the good work. Everybody who's listening, thank you very much for tuning in. Rory Connel, everybody. This is a PRI Our Day Off podcast. And we'll see you all later.
See you on the lake bed.
Yep, let's go. Thank you.